Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I'm here with some of my September reading plans. So I did a poll on Twitter, and most of you guys said that you would prefer to see two TBR videos, so one for the Latinx-a-thon and Latinx book bingo books I want to read, and then a separate one for all the other read-a-thons. I think because of when the read-a-thons start, probably my general TBR is going to go up first, which is what I'm filming right now, although there will be some crossover, so you're actually going to kind of get a sneak peek of some of the Latinx books I'm super excited to get to this year during Hispanic Heritage Month or Latinx Heritage Month, which is from September 15th through October 15th. So as usual, I have quite an ambitious TBR, but I'm super excited about all of these books, so I feel like I can probably get a good number of them done because I'm going to be really hopefully enjoying all of them. So we're going to start out with my TBR for the Celtic Mythothon. Mythothon was created by Louise from Fox's Fairy Tale, and this is I think the third round. It's the first round I'm participating in, and I'm super excited. I think the setup for this one is a little bit different. Normally there's a bingo board of prompts, but for the Celtic one it's actually you move through a story, which is really cool. I think there's going to be multiple parts for this too, but I'm talking about the first part, and this round is based on a Welsh story. I think is pronounced something like Pŵl Pendifig Dyfed, maybe? I am so sorry to everybody who speaks Welsh. So I'm actually not going to read all the story parts out because I think that's a fun thing to do as you're choosing your books, but I am going to link obviously all the information for the read-a-thon down below where you can do that. I'm just going to talk about the prompts and the books I plan to read. So the first prompt is to read a book that has an animal on the cover or in the title, and for that one I hope to read Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. This is the UK cover, which I really like, and as you can see there are two lions on the cover. This is an African-inspired fantasy, and I think it's about a female main character who gets a position in the prince's court or one of his advisors or something, and her job is to protect him, but I think her mother has sent her there to kill him. I think something like that. I've heard amazing things about this book and I'm so excited to get to it. The second prompt is to read a book featuring the Fae or some other supernatural element, and for that one I have one of the first sneak peeks of my Latinx-a-thon and Latinx book bingo TBR, and that is Lobisona by Romina Garber, and this book does have werewolves in it, so that's a supernatural creature, and this is a book that again I've heard amazing things about. Our main character is a girl named Manu, and she's an undocumented immigrant, and I think something happens. I think her mother disappears, maybe? Yeah, her mother is arrested by ICE, and then Manu ends up finding out some things about her family, and she ends up going on a rescue mission. I've also heard there's a kind of magical school at some point in this book, and I also heard it does a really great job of dealing with a lot of really heavy themes about immigration and culture. Again, can't wait to get to this one. I'm pretty much going to be saying this for all these books, so I'm sorry in advance that I'm going to repeat myself for so much. The next prompt is to read a book featuring a rivalry, and yet again, this is a very anticipated release of mine, and that is Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angeles. Look at that stunning cover, and then it's got really cool end papers as well, and then underneath it has a gold imprint of a chandelier. There's a little bit that's worn off, but I don't care, it makes it unique. I am so excited about this. This is inspired by Phantom of the Opera and a little bit of Moulin Rouge, and this does feature a rivalry. I think there are three characters who are competing in a magician competition or something like that. Once again, this is one I've heard great early reviews for, and I can't wait. I am absolute trash for Phantom of the Opera, so I'm ready. The next prompt is to read a book featuring a friendship or with serious squad goals, and for that one I have an arc, and that is Wishes and Wellingtons by Julie Berry. The print version comes out, I think the audio, it's one of those exclusive audiobooks that has been out for a while, but the print version goes on sale October 13th of this year, and I actually got this a few months ago, and I put it on a TBR, but I've been holding off because I want to do a full review for this book closer to release date, so I hope to finally get to it. I have loved, I always think of Julie Berry as a favorite author for me, even though I've only read one of her books, but that one book was Lovely War, which kind of changed my life a little bit, so anyway, really excited to read more of her things. I own quite a few of her books, so I'm excited to get to more. And this is about a girl who goes to a British boarding school, and she accidentally wakes up a foul-tempered genie who reluctantly grants her 3 wishes, and she ends up going with her friends on an adventure. And I feel like this is just going to have really great friendships, so I'm really looking forward to this. Also kind of a perfect fall read, I think. Next prompt is to read a book from a trilogy, and for that one I have Nocturna by Maya Matane. This is the first book in a Latinx fantasy trilogy. I know Jocelyn really loves this series. I think she talked about it in her own world mythology video, which is a thing that I also really enjoy reading about. And I think the magic in this series is partially based on families or something like that, which sounds really interesting. And I think our main character, she is a shapeshifter, maybe? She can change her face and disguise herself. So I think she's a thief on the run. and then she ends up having to team up with a prince and trying to accomplish something. Looks like they accidentally wake up a terrible ancient power and they have to team up to try and defeat the thing that they unleashed. This is a series I've been planning to get to for a long time, and I'm excited to finally do that. The next prompt is to read a book that has food on the cover or in the title. And I have Apple in the Middle by Don Quigley. This is an own voices Native American story, and our main character is a girl named Apple who has kind of distanced herself from her indigenous culture. After experiencing a lot of racism, she has kind of distanced herself from that part of her. But then one summer she ends up staying with some of her Native American relatives on the Turtle Mountain Reservation, and I think it's about her kind of reconnecting with her family and with her culture. And this book comes very highly recommended from Michelle from Thor Wants Another Letter, so I'm really excited to get to this. The next prompt is to read a book that you already own, and this one, again, very excited. That is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. I've been meaning to read this book since Marinez from My Name is Marinez talked about it. She has a whole review that I will link down below, and our main character is a young black woman who is babysitting for a white family, and she has the baby girl at a grocery store, and somebody sees them and assumes that she stole the baby and like calls the police, I think. And that's kind of one of the main incidents in this book, but from what I've heard, the story as a whole is kind of about like performative activism and microaggressions and like fake woke white people, and I've just heard like incredible things about this book and the themes it handles. So I'm really looking forward to this as well. The next prompt is to read a book written by a female author, and I read a lot of books by female authors, so this definitely wasn't difficult. But kind of in the spirit of the Read-A-Thon, you're supposed to do one book per prompt, even though you don't have to. You are definitely allowed to stack if you like, but I figured this was a perfect excuse to put a book on my TBR I've been wanting to get to for a while. And that is The Voting Booth by Brandi Colbert. This is about our two main characters. It's one of those like set over the course of a day books. And the female lead, Marva, she sees his boy Duke get turned away, and she says like, you know, that's not right. We have to make sure you get to vote. And so she is on a mission to get him to be able to vote by the end of the day. So the two of them end up traveling together, I guess, around the city to do that. And I've heard that this handles really great themes. I've also heard that like it does the relationship in one day thing very convincingly, and after I read Somewhere Only We Know, which had kind of a similar time frame, I'm much more open to that idea, so I'm excited to get to this. Next is to read a book with a beautiful cover, and this is one like I could have picked a lot of different options, but again I wanted an excuse to put this book on my TBR because it is one of my most anticipated books of the year, and that is Star Daughter by Shweta Tharkar, which is definitely a stunning cover. So the premise for this reminds me of Stardust by Neil Gaiman, but with Hindu mythology, and one that I think I will enjoy more. Yeah, I haven't really heard any early reviews of this. I'm gonna kind of try to keep it that way because I just want to love this, and I want to go in with pretty much like no expectations of what is going to happen. So absolutely thrilled to have this book in my hands, and I hope to get to it very soon. Next prompt is to read a book featuring mental health representation, and for that one I have A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. This is a West African inspired fantasy, and I think our male lead, I think he deals with anxiety and possibly panic attacks too. And I actually really like when mental health themes are explored in fantasy novels. I actually find those easier to read in a way, like especially if it's a like condition that I also share. It's like I don't necessarily want to read a contemporary about a character with anxiety because it's like that's a little too close to home. Also, once again, a stunning cover. I think I had this on a previous TBR, but I didn't get to it, so hoping it happens this month. And the last prompt for the Celtic Mythothon is to read a book featuring royalty, and for that one, I hope to read one of my neglected library books. I have read a couple of those, but still not making the progress I want to, and that is In the Shadow of the Sun by Em Castellan. I think this is a fantasy novel inspired by the French court, and specifically the Sun King, who is I think Louis XVI, and I have realized I really like French-inspired fantasies. I think I've actually read a couple that are specifically set during the court of the Sun King, so apparently that's a very niche thing that I enjoy. So looking forward to getting to that one as well. Okay, so the next readathon I'm going to talk about is Wonderland, or I think it's part of A Touch of Whimsy, but there's like a specific readathon that they're doing for the first time, which is based on Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And the hosts for that are Lexi from Alexandra Roslin, Kaylin from Kaylin Abridged, Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin, and Jade from JD Ray Reads. I just remembered, I think I wrote these down in reverse order, so I'm going to try to reverse these so that I actually get them in the right order when I'm talking about them. The first prompt is to read a book set in another world, and for that one I'm doubling up with Nocturna by Matane, although I really could have picked I think any of the fantasy books that I am reading. Next prompt is to read an aesthetically pleasing book, and I have a ton of gorgeous covers, but this is a book that I need to read during the month anyway, and I do think it's a very pretty cover, and that is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. This is the Penguin English Library editions, which I think are really pretty, and they're super floppy paperbacks, which I love, and this is for our Pastic Classics Club. September is the first month we're doing this. I'm hosting this with the wonderful Julia and Taylor from Page Screen Taylor, and the live show is going to be on Taylor's channel. The official date will be announced, but it'll be near the end of the month or near the beginning of October. So I'm really curious to see how I feel about rereading this one, because when I read it a few years ago, I actually really liked it. Even though the whole time I was reading it, I was like, yes, I can understand why so many people despise this book. But yeah, we'll see. I hope I still like it. Another prompt is to have a cozy reading snack, which I don't have a specific book picked for, but I love that prompt. The next prompt is to pick up a book for a cozy night in, and this one I actually deliberately left blank because I want to just pick up something that I feel like. The next prompt is to pick a book you think you'll love, and for that one I have Dark and Deepest Red by Anne Marie McLemore. Again, this is one of my Latinx picks, and I have loved everything McLemore has written, so I am pretty sure I'm going to really enjoy this one as well. Yeah, this is, I think, a dual timeline novel, which I am not always a fan of that format, but I trust Anne Marie McLemore so much that I am sure I'm still going to really enjoy this. Oh, also, I don't know where this prompt is in the lineup, but I think one of the challenges is to join them for their live show, so that is also a prompt that you can do. And then the last prompt is to pick a strange and mysterious book. And for that one, I have Kiki, Mcadoo, and the Graveyard Ballerinas by Colette Sewell. This is a book I have heard basically nothing about. I don't even remember how I came across this, like on Goodreads or something, but I am so excited. I don't remember if I've talked about this on my channel, but I have been feeling for a long time that ballets are an untapped resource for retellings, and this is like a spooky middle grade retelling of, I think, Giselle. Yeah, the ballet Giselle. So I think our main character, she ends up finding these like ghost girls in the woods, and if you guys are familiar at all with the story of Giselle, in the ballet there are ghost girls who force people to dance until they die. I'm really interested to see how that plays out in this middle grade book. And yeah, I just want more ballet retellings. I love retellings, and I just feel like ballets are such an underutilized source for that, so I hope this is good. Okay, and then the last readathon I'm going to talk about in this video is the Bratz readathon. I loved Bratz dolls when I was growing up, like Bratz and Barbie. Me and my sister were like equal opportunity fans. I'm going to be joining Team Yasmin, and the hosts for that team are Tyra and the Books and Candace from Trashy Tomes. I will put all the hosts down below, but those are the hosts for Team Yasmin, which is who I will be joining. And I think actually I will be able to double up on all of these prompts, which is great. So the first prompt is Pretty Princess. That is to read a book that has a crown on the cover. And once again, I have Nocturna by Matane. This is like the book that fits a zillion prompts, which I did not realize when I picked it. For some reason I had a really hard time finding a book that had a crown on it. The next prompt is to read an Own Voices Latinx book, which I will definitely be covering with the Latinx-a-thon and Latinx book bingo picks. The next prompt is Hopeless Romantic. That is to read a book with romance. Okay, this is the only book that I have not already talked about, and that is You Had Me at Ola by Alexis Daria. This is a romance novel that has gotten amazing reviews. I'm so excited about it. It's about two characters who are working on like a telenovela set together, and they hate each other, but they end up having to work together, and a romance ensues. I'm just so excited for this. Like, I love this cover. I love the idea of this. I love the romance opportunities that come from having characters work on like the same performance together, like basically being co-stars. I love that. So I can't wait to finally get to this. The next prompt is Animal Rescue, and that is to read a book that has an animal on the cover. I will be using the same book I chose for that prompt in a different readathon, which is Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. And the last prompt is Nevra and Roxy. That is to read the group book, which is The Henna Wars by Adiba Jagrudar. I don't generally read group books as part of readathons, but I have heard amazing things about that one. So if you've been looking for an excuse to read it, then that is the group book for the readathon. Okay, everybody, so those are a bunch of the books that I hope to get to during the month of September. Once again, it's a lot, but that's okay. I'm excited about all of these. And actually, like, as you'll see when I post my Latinx-a-thon and Latinx book bingo TBR, quite a few of these are going to double up, so it's not going to be as intense as it seems. It's not going to be completely unmanageable, I think. But anyway, I mean, I'm looking forward to all of these. Please let me know if you're participating in any of these readathons and one book that you are really excited to get to in the month of September. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!